Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort in commentary, Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. This was all the fallout from Extreme Rules last night, as well as quarterfinal matchups for the King of the Ring tournament. Yes, they're bringing it back to be concluded on a special event on the WWE Network tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And I gotta say, qualifying matches were a hell of a lot of fun. Semifinals are looking pretty beast. And overall, I think that addition, as well as some of the Extreme Rules fallout leading into Payback, made this a pretty enjoyable Raw. Was it anything stellar? I think that's a bit hyperbolic. I think we got two really great matches tonight. But on the whole, this is a pretty decent Raw, and I enjoyed it. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
Man, I gotta tell you, I didn't really get into this Raw at all. I mean, I like the idea of a King of the Ring tournament a hell of a lot more than I like the execution.
Right. You know, that's kind of the way I've been the last couple of years, because I think my thing is, and maybe I'm just too old school, because I mean, I was still kind of, I was still a kid, and I was still growing up with wrestling when it happened in 2002 when Brock Lesnar won. I still think the King of the Ring would be superior if it was its own event, and you made it like a bigger production. Doing it all in like one night, or in this case, like 2 nights, I don't know. Like, it's good, and again, it has some quality matchups like I feel like we got tonight, but it's just lacking that oomph that other more traditional King of the Ring tournaments have had in the past.
Well, and really, when was the last time the King of the Ring tournament was actually used to make a star?
And see, that's my thing too, and I think you know very well that's been a concern of mine with this tournament. Is I've said to people, the only way I'll really get excited is if they really go hard with whoever the winner is in their push, and they do worthwhile things with them. And considering some of the people that got ousted from this tournament, my enthusiasm's a bit deflated, but I'm still curious, how it's all gonna round out, so to speak.
Yep, absolutely. Other than that, we had some solid segments tonight. I would say that tonight, much like last night, is like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a fair.
That's the same grade that I would have given Extreme Rules if I were to grade that on a scale of 1 to 10. So pretty similar.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would actually echo your sentiments, believe it or not, that whole 6 out of 10 scale for both Extreme Rules and this Raw. But with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I gotta say, I really don't have any heats of the night tonight. Nothing really irked me. I mean, I know I even said, like, on the past Raw TWitWoW, like, I was gonna have an issue if something were to happen to John Cena's U.S. Championship Open Challenge. But even that I felt like was well done, which we'll get into in the more specifics later. So, yeah, no nitpicks, no heat of the night. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. It's one of those things where tonight wasn't bad, it was just boring.
Right, yeah.
So, like, it's kind of hard to complain about a show that wasn't particularly horrible, that just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from with that. It's a shame, because normally with any, like, Fallout Raw, it's the Fallout Raws and the Go-Home Raws that I'm always particularly excited for, but more often than not, it's always like the Fallout Raws from the pay-per-view the night prior always seem to kind of just be a letdown. I'm like, oh man, all this stuff could happen, and then you see it, and it's like...
And then it all gets reset, and it's like the pay-per-view never happened in the first place.
Exactly. Oh, man. All right, well, since you really don't have any gripes and you were just bored and I'm just kind of like middle of the road, let's roll right on through to our Monday Night Raw review, where we open up, like we do every other Raw, with the Authority.
Of course.
Missing Big Show, though, so, if you call that spicing it up, I guess maybe they're trying, but obviously not.
He's in the ambulance.
Exactly, yeah, because he got hurt real bad last night. But yeah, Seth
Just
Rollins.
ask Roman Reigns. He'll tell you all about it.
Oh, believe me, we're going to get there, my friend. But Roman Reigns, of course, or Seth Rollins, pats himself on the back, very self-congratulatory over his successful title defense. And then he says, but let's talk about somebody else who had a really big helping hand, and that was Kane, the Crypt Keeper, I mean, Cage Guardian, and just like, he pretends like he made a fumble. But of course, this tension between Rollins and Kane still going on. If I had to make any nitpick, it would be how relevant Kane still is in the context of this whole storyline and why he's.
See, you know what though? I actually like Kane in this role. Because here's the thing. Do I think that it's kind of obnoxious that the WWE is still pushing the hell out of these old Attitude Era stars? Yeah, a little. But if I could pick any Attitude Era star who is healthy enough to wrestle right now for them to push, it probably would be Kane.
And what I was getting ready to say was, the only reason I think I didn't even make it a nitpick was because of what we found out our Payback main event was going to be, which went against our worst fears, kind of involving Kane. So that's why I was able to let it go. I feel like if Kane is kind of in this role where he's just kind of using his authoritative powers to stick it to Rollins and just be kind of like an outside influence trying to meddle with his title reign, that could actually be entertaining to a degree. But that's the limit for me with Kane involvement.
Kane is like the modern version of JBL. He only has a job because Triple H doesn't want to work.
Exactly.
I mean, back in the day, the joke was that the only reason JBL was champion because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays, but now it applies to Mondays too. Triple H just doesn't want to be on every show anymore, and yeah, Kane is the Triple H when Triple H isn't around.
He probably just doesn't want to leave NXT, and I can't blame him.
And who can blame him? Yeah, really.
It's like, oh man, you guys are so wonderful and so talented. We're really building something wonderful. Wait, hold on, my phone. Yeah? Yeah, I'm not going to make Raw. Yeah, put Kane in charge. Okay. And then he just goes back to NXT. But,
Vince doesn't meddle with NXT.
But, Kane and Rollins, of course, that they go through that. Kane at one point calls Seth Rollins. He says, I'd rather be the Crypt Keeper than the WWE's version of Justin Bieber. Look, guys, we're topical. That actually annoyed me more than anything.
How is that topical? How is Justin Bieber relevant right now?
Because he had his roast recently, and apparently he just crashed a prom recently too, and he's still kind of, in the limelight in that sense.
Oh.
But still, like, how do you make the connection between Seth Rollins and Justin Bieber?
I guess they were trying to say that he's like a spoiled little kid that thinks he's entitled to the world, and that kind of fits.
I'll give you that one, Ashton.
But there's got to be better parallels than Justin Bieber. He's like 1 in a million.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a very loose connection to make. I'll give it to him, but it's a loose connection nonetheless. So obviously they implode. Then Rollins like, I'm not scared of anybody. Then of course Randy Orton's music hits because it's like, haha, you are afraid of someone, see, audience. And Orton says, hey, you
because heels, even heels that are billed as smart can't be smart.
Exactly.
Because they're heels.
But Orton says, hey, the RKO was banned, and you used that last night, you cheated last night, therefore, and especially when one of your own authority members says it, of your administration, I deserve a rematch. So Randy Orton, of course, is out here campaigning. Rollins says, look, you squandered your shot. Orton says, hey, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to Kane. So again, trying to work Kane over, to cause that dissension between him and Seth. But then Roman Reigns comes out.
Roman Reigns comes out, John.
Ooh, getting back in that title picture.
I still think Big Show's version of that was better.
That was
more entertaining, at least.
Yeah, Roman Reigns comes out. He stands atop one of the announce tables, and he proclaims, I see you're missing your giant. I did that.
yeah, pretty much.
And it says, you know what? I was the last man standing, and now, getting back to business, I deserve a shot at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Randy, you had your shot. I won my match last night. I'm next in line. And Kane pretty much says, well, look, Seth, you got both of these guys coming out here claiming that they deserve a title shot. Let's come together. Let's put our differences aside, and let's show them the true power of the authority. And then afterwards, the WWE Universe can decide who your opponent's going to be at Payback. It's one thing for Kane to want to stick it to Rollins, but why would you go so far as to make yourself seem babyface when you're still a member of the authority, the ultimate heel faction? Oh, God, I don't know. But, yeah,
wait, how is Kane anything but a babyface at this point?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could really see, like, that's where this is all going. But, so, yeah, that's our main event tonight. A tag team match, players. Kane and Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. Isn't that compelling television, Ashton?
The compellingest.
Exactly. But we go from that to our first King of the Ring matchup, Dolph Ziggler versus Bad News Barrett. I mean, Ziggler's a bumping machine. You know he's going to make a guy of, like, Barrett's offensive look good, with the ground and pound and the brawling and everything. It was a fun back-and-forth match, a solid opener, but then Sheamus comes out towards the end and says, hey, Ziggler, just wanted to remind you that there was a full Irish moon last night. And, of course, making fun of the fact that he made Ziggler kiss his arse. And Barrett capitalizes, hits the bullhammer, which Ziggler sells like death. And Barrett actually beats Ziggler. Complete 180 from Barrett's night last night when he lost to Neville. So Barrett's getting back on track.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I like that Barrett got this win back, but what I guess I don't understand is why would you have, and this just kind of, it's the ploy of the Ziggler fan, why would you have Dolph Ziggler beat Sheamus last night? This big deal, like, oh, Sheamus is back and he's this brand new and better than ever, but he can't beat Dolph Ziggler. Who can't beat Bad News Barrett? Who can't beat Adrian Neville? So apparently now Adrian Neville is just God.
Yeah, apparently. That didn't take long, huh?
And Sheamus is the worst of the worst.
Oh, yeah. It's when you put it in that perspective, damn, man. Damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Barrett
I mean,
wins.
if Sheamus is that bad, I mean, what does that make Dean Ambrose?
Oh, God. Believe me, we'll
Which
get there.
I'm gonna keep going here. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Sheamus beat Dean Ambrose tonight by disqualification.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Ambrose beat Harper last night, right?
Right.
Who did Harper beat tonight?
Well, Harper lost to Neville tonight.
Oh, okay. So I guess Luke Harper is the dirtiest of the dirty dirt down at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, more or less.
He loses to everyone who loses to everyone who loses to everyone.
Oh, and he's so talented, too. It's not even fair.
Luke Harper is literally the Jacksonville Jaguars of the WWE right now.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, are you all pumped for the draft, guys? 3 days.
Can you tell where my mind is at, people?
You just do not care. I love it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's another thing. Like, WWE, what are you going to do on Thursday night when you have an episode of SmackDown going head-to-head with round 1 of the NFL Draft at 8 p.m.? You are dead. I am the one person that actually watches SmackDown almost every week, and you're not even getting my viewership.
You're boned. You're totally boned. Our next segment, though, I just gotta say this: we get Big E versus Tyson Kidd. I am convinced. Now this is nothing against Big E or Kingston, because I think you know that I like both guys. I mean, I've even defended Kofi when most people are like, hey, he's overrated, this, that, and the other. I like all 3 guys. But Xavier Woods is the shining star of this thing for me. I freaking love Xavier Woods. New Day comes out, they get on the mic, and Woods declares that they are the champions. I mean, he didn't sing it, but he was going for that whole Queen route. And then he says, you know what? We want to thank all the clappers who clapped away their troubles and clapped away their doubters. So in honor of their championship victory, because the New Day sucks chants are starting up, we're going to get rid of that old chant. You don't need that. And try this on for size. New Day rocks. New Day rocks. And, of course, they didn't go with it. It was New Day sucks. And Woods just, his facial expression.
Why? What did we do wrong? We've been winning. We're the champions.
Why? What did we do to you? Why are you so hurtful? And you know what? Really interesting factoid I read today, Ashton, that I just want to share very quickly. Xavier Woods, I think, is probably the first man, or at least a part of a very small list of people to win the tag titles both in TNA and WWE without actually being in a match to kind of earn them.
Nice. Wow, that's a very, very specific thing.
I know, right? I read it today, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. But after that, so they do that whole thing. We get Big E versus Tyson Kidd. Not really much to say here. I mean, Kidd's really taking it to Big E. But then at one point in the matchup, Big E explodes out of the corner with a clothesline, covers Tyson Kidd, and Xavier Woods grasps the free leg so Tyson can't kick out, and New Day gets the win. They are quickly becoming, if they aren't there already for a lot of people, one of the most entertaining heel acts on the roster. I'm really digging these guys now that they're heel, dude. It's awesome. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. I love heel New Day. They're the greatest.
Oh, man. Just don't stop talking, Xavier Woods. I hope you get a microphone every week.
He's doing so well in his new role, and it really is a new role for him because he's never really been a manager before, has he?
No, he has not.
And that's basically what he is at this point. He's not competing at all.
And from what I understand, Ashton, I mean, the Freebird rule should be in effect for these guys.
Yeah.
So, Xavier Woods.
John.
Yeah.
It's WWE. They don't recognize the Freebird rule anymore.
I guess I only kind of mentioned that because I've been hearing, that term, thrown around. But, I mean, we'll see where they go with it. Maybe they will.
The last time the WWE recognized the Freebird rule was the frickin' Spirit Squad.
Oh, God.
Almost 10 years ago.
But you know what?
They've had plenty of opportunities since.
I know they have, but you know what? I'm still going to keep a slightly open mind to it. You never know if WWE could just think of it offhandedly, be like, oh, we could do this. But even if Xavier Woods is just going to be the man, it's just gold, man. That's all it is. It's beautiful. So after that, we get Ryback versus Bo Dallas. Not really much to say here. Ryback mauls Bo Dallas. I mean, he just runs straight through him, pins him after a shell shock. It's what happened after the matchup that's of, I guess, interest. Lights go out. They come back on. We get the Bray Wyatt interruption. When the lights come back on, Bray Wyatt's in the ring. He hits Ryback with a Sister Abigail, and then he does his walk, his grudge walk. And, yeah, that's pretty much that. So we know that Ryback was the target. So these guys are presumably going to have a matchup at Payback, and that could actually be a very good matchup. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I don't know. When this happened, the only thing that I could say was, oh yeah, I can dig this. I can get into this, yeah. Because, yeah, I love both of these guys, and they both are extremely underrated in the ring. A lot of people say that Ryback sucks in the ring just because he's a powerhouse, and to me, he's actually really good in the ring. Freaking Bray Wyatt is amazing in the ring. So yeah, I mean, these guys are gonna put on one hell of a match, and I'm genuinely looking forward to it.
Definitely. I hope we get maybe like two pay-per-view matchups out of this. Payback, and then maybe Money in the Bank to kind of like a blow-off or something. I wouldn't mind this going a while. It's definitely different. I think people are clamoring for different all the time. We've never seen Ryback and Bray Wyatt really hook it up, so I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is they've never hooked it up, like you said. That's a big deal nowadays.
Absolutely.
There are so few matchups that we can say like these guys have never fought before.
Exactly. So I really feel like we should appreciate this for what it is, and just hopefully it goes well from here. After that, we get John Cena. He comes out and he cuts a promo about his victory at Extreme Rules and talks about, how even with how beat up he is and how he has to look forward to the I Quit match at Payback, he's still here tonight to grant an opportunity here in the city of Green Bay. And, who's going to answer my open challenge? Heath Slater comes out because he's been expressing an interest. I think, what was it, last week he said he was going to enter?
Yeah, last week because Orton ended up RKOing him straight out of consciousness.
Exactly, and Heath Slater's cutting a promo about how, what a great United States champion is going to be, and how he's going to be that I think that double discount or something, and he's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers.
Discount double check, and he turned
double check, yes.
Turned it into the discount Slater check, which, I mean, horrible pun, but at least he tried, I guess.
I'm just so proud of him for getting that cheap heat, because he's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. That's right, Heath. You grab all that cheap heat for yourself.
Yeah.
But as he's cutting that promo, I just knew it wasn't going to end well, because he was talking way too much when he should have been coming down to the ring. And then Rusev attacks him from behind, and he super kicks him off the stage. I guess that was for telling him to his face, ding, ding, you son of a bitch. So... yeah, he just took him out. And then Rusev cuts not to say that it wasn't good. I enjoy Rusev's mic work. I think precisely for this very reason, oddly enough. Cuts a very straightforward, basic promo, says, hey, at Payback, you and the rest of America are going to be saying together, I quit. So Rusev's determined to break John Cena, and all I can say is good luck with that.
Can we establish, though, that Lana came out at one point and just kind of posed for the crowd and then got the mic grabbed out of her hand and told off by Rusev?
Yeah, total dichotomy here happening between Lana and Rusev. I think a break's going to happen very soon. And I'll be very curious to see what happens with Lana when she's no longer saddled to Rusev. Because here's the thing, she is so over right now that if she even remotely has the ring chops to back it up, if they want her to start actually competing, holy crap. Yeah, that's going to be a force to mess with right there.
Yep.
All right, after that, we get another King of the Ring matchup, Stardust versus R-Truth. Again, this is another matchup where not really much to say. I mean, fans are still chanting Cody at Stardust. That feels like such an incomplete storyline to me that I don't even really pay it any mind anymore. And there's really nothing noteworthy here except for the finish. Stardust is going to go for a springboard, probably a beautiful disaster. But then R-Truth caught him in what's now being called, the lie detector, which was formerly the what's up.
Yeah.
So he caught him in that, got the pin, and, R-Truth advances. Now, he did say as king that he was going to get rid of all spiders, big and small, whatever kind of spider it was, he's getting rid of them. So he's one step closer to making that dream a reality. There
Absolutely.
You go.
Yep.
And I think now that actually does set up our first semifinal bracket there, Ashton, because now R-Truth tomorrow night's going to be taking on Bad News Barrett. So we'll see how that goes. After that, we got Fandango versus Adam Rose. Again, not really much to say here because it's revealed that Rosa Mendez was one of the Rosebuds, and she distracts Fandango, allowing Adam Rose to hit the party foul, and Adam Rose gets the win. I really wish I cared because Adam Rose is so talented. It's just, yeah. After the matchup, Rosa says, I can't believe you chose these people over me. I mean, haven't you seen me on Total Divas? And then she just ends up sucking Adam Rose's face to the point where I'm legitimately concerned because she has him pinned down on the mat, and I'm like, what's going on here? But yeah, so Adam Rose and Rosa Mendez are now a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. All I could notice in this before it got really awkward was that Adam Rose is starting to look more and more like Leo Kruger.
Yeah, didn't we note the same thing, though, with the whole beating the crap out of the bunny angle where, like, oh, he's growing the hair out and this and that, and it didn't turn into anything, so I'm not going to get my hopes up this time.
Yeah,
This is his life now, Ashton. This is his life now.
This is your face! I'm sorry. I'm really sensitive when it comes to Adam Rose, aka formerly known as Leo Kruger. I just don't know how to control my emotions right now.
Normally, I'd probably give a catty retort, but I mean, I understand. Because, I mean, you and I saw Leo Kruger together on NXT, and we both loved him. Hell, I loved Prince Kruger before Leo Kruger, the crazed hunter kind of thing. It's just Adam Rose, man. And you know what? I still feel like Adam Rose could work. It's just mishandling from the get-go. All right. Well, we see Renee Young backstage with Brie Bella. She pretty much discusses the state of Daniel Bryan. She says, it's really hard for him. He'd give anything to be here. He loves you guys, referring to the WWE Universe. And, it means the world to him that you've been so supportive, and it means the world to me too. And he will be back. And, before she can finish, Naomi comes along and she shoves Brie to the ground. Now, I was hoping for an assault to ensue because Naomi has a bone to pick with Brie, seeing as how she screwed Naomi out of the Divas Championship last night, but I am not bitter. She then leans over to Brie, like looking down at her and says, nobody cares about you or your husband. And then she walks off. After that, we get Brie Bella versus Naomi. Again, I'm digging heel Naomi. I like the theme music. I'm liking the attitude. I don't really like that she's kind of, I don't know if I should really say borrowing some things from Sasha Banks, with the shades and everything else. I'm like, I love you, Naomi, but the boss is the boss, and that's sacred ground. But, she's making it work, I guess.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, then again, you and I think, are fiercely protective of our NXT women because they're amazing.
Yeah.
But, Naomi ultimately gets the win. I was looking for, hopefully, a new kind of heelish impact finisher. No, she gets the win off of a unique pinning combination. It starts with a cradle, but then she gets it in, what looks like a regular pin, but you'll notice she has one of the legs kind of hooked, I think, with one of her legs. It was pretty weird, but it was effective. Got the win. So Naomi is still, in the rear view, saying rear view, I guess pun totally intended, I might as well own it, of the Bellas. She's not done with the Divas Championship yet. I hope she gets a rematch at Payback, and she can finally get the win. This way we can prepare for the real feud that I'm looking forward to, Paige versus Naomi this summer. So that's all I got to say about that. Anything you want to say about this match, or can I just keep rolling right on through?
Just keep rolling, brother. I will say, though, I don't know. I mean, I love Naomi, and they did a really, really smart thing with her, having her attack Brie Bella, because it was like we were kind of having that moment where it was almost like on the fringe of kayfabe and reality, and she was talking about Daniel Bryan, who we know is her husband in real life, and it was just like this weird moment where it was like, oh crap, this is still the wrestling show when Naomi attacked her. And yeah, it was really smart, and it made me feel uncomfortable, which is the best kind of way for a heel to get heel heat.
Exactly. We go from that to Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus. I'm not going to lie, bro. This is on track to being my match of the night until the finish, which it wasn't horrendous by any means. I just don't think I was crazy about it, and maybe that goes a little bit into a personal bias, which we'll get to in a second. I mean, you've already said in an earlier segment that Dean Ambrose lost this match by disqualification. Now, him and Sheamus had a great back and forth, I thought. I love the exchanges they had. Really fun stuff. There was one cool moment where Dean kind of dunks the bro kick, gets a roll up, but that only gets a near fall. Sheamus at one point got the clover leaf on Ambrose, but he made it to the ropes. So like they're really going a lot. And then when it tumbles to the outside, they're really fighting on the outside. I mean, Ambrose kind of dives off the announce table onto Sheamus, and then Sheamus explodes with the bro kick. But then Dolph comes in with the assault, and that's what really causes the DQ. Now, this is perplexing because, Dean Ambrose did win his match last night at Extreme Rules against Luke Harper in that Chicago street fight. And I'm thinking, okay, now we're getting the rise of Dean Ambrose. It's going to be the summer of Ambrose. And he loses a match by DQ. I mean, I guess it's better than him getting straight up pinned. But, I mean, really, if you think about it, he got bro kicked prior to Dolph coming out. So really, what would have stopped me from thinking that Sheamus had this in the bag anyway? I don't know. Again, it wasn't the worst finish, but I guess I just kind of feel for Dean, and I really wanted to see him advance. I mean, Ashton, you're the big Dean Ambrose fan here, and we've been kind of talking about this tournament. What did you think about how this whole thing ended,
I was devastated.
I understand, man.
Because, here's my thing. I remember reading a month or two ago that the WWE really knew what they had, and they really loved Dean Ambrose, and they wanted to give him a really big push this summer. So I was thinking, oh, hey, what better way to start the Dean Ambrose push, the summer of Ambrose, than to kick it off with King Ambrose.
Yeah.
And then he loses in round one because of a distraction that he's probably not going to get any kind of comeuppance for, and it's just going to get forgotten.
Yeah, see, I think that's kind of what irks me, too, and thank you for bringing that up, because even though he's a babyface and Dolph's a babyface, I would not blame Dean for turning heel after this and, beating the crap out of Ziggler. I would. You come in and interrupt my match because you can't handle your own beef on your own time? Are you serious? And, King Ambrose would have been awesome. No taxes on ale. Everybody would have solved things by street fights. What could have been, Ashton? What could have been?
No taxes on ale. I didn't know Dean Ambrose was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he said
it.
I think
you mean no taxes on Singapore canes.
Yeah, that too. Oh, man. But
that seems like the only thing that anyone can relate to Dean Ambrose right now. That's the only thing about his character that kind of stands out as unique, is that he's the guy that always goes for the Singapore canes.
Right.
He's in rough shape, man.
Dude, I think you and I could devote an entire video to, how we would book Dean Ambrose and how we could really make the summer of Ambrose a reality, but I don't even have the heart in me to have that discussion now, because it really shouldn't even be that hard. He's one of the most talented guys on the roster, and just got to connect the dots. That's all you got to do. But speaking of connecting the dots and trying to make things work, this was one of the more intriguing segments of the night for me, because I don't even really know how to feel about it. We get a recap of Summer Rae turning on Damian Sandow in his match against, The Miz last week, where the winner got full rights to the Miz name and everything else. And the way this promo starts, I'm really digging it, Ashton, because there's a sincerity to it. You know what I mean? He's coming out and he says, I'm never going to lie to the fans. And he goes through his whole story about how he first came out, in a blue bathrobe and said he was going to enlighten everybody in the whole intellectual savior gimmick. Then he was told to his face that, he wasn't entertaining enough, so he goes on this quest that people thought, oh, is he losing his mind? But really, he was just trying to, make that connection. And then he found Mizdow, and he said the best thing to come out of Mizdow was the connection he forged with the WWE Universe. And he thanks them so much for that connection and for bringing him here to the WWE. A small thank you Sandow chant starts, and he responds with, "You're welcome," which gets a nice pop. And I'm loving it, right? This feels like a great moment here for Sandow. But then Curtis Axel interrupts.
And before you move on, I just want to say, this is about the dumbest thing that the WWE could have done. This is the dumbest person that the WWE could have had come out to interrupt Damian Sandow. Why do I say that? Because he's not a frickin' heel. He's not somebody that the crowd hates. He's somebody that the crowd loves to hate. There's such a huge difference between those two different kind of states of mind. And Axel is this entertaining, goofy comedy heel who people in smarky cities would cheer for, but the people in the markier, like the casual cities cheer, or they'll boo. But they're not booing him out of anger. They're booing him out of, boo, you're terrible and you lose a lot.
Right. And I think that's...
Then, like, he comes out and Sandow, like, he mocks him, and it's like, it almost like gets uncomfortable, and they threw this away.
So you agree with me then that the promo seemed to have such a strong start and
Yeah.
then a really weak finish? Because I loved where this was going. Like,
does anybody really want to see the intellectual savior Damian Sandow making childish voices at a guy whose gimmick is literally that he's delusional? You might as well be making fun of Eugene, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, the beginning of this promo kind of had that feel of when Ryback was kind of ripping himself open for everybody and talking about his journey, and I love stuff like that, because, like you've said for babyfaces, I think it really helps make that stronger connection with the crowd. But then, it's not even the fact that a heel interrupted. It's like you said, it's a comedy heel, and not even really a credible one at that. It's almost oxymoronic. I never really knew a comedy heel that was credible. Now, even though I know he's tied up with something else at the moment, just playing fantasy booking for just a second, imagine if it was a Sheamus that interrupted Sandow. And said, of course you ended up this way because you're a joke and you're pathetic and this and that. Like, I could so get behind a Sandow of this sincerity just trying to figure out where to go next, and a guy like Sheamus picking on him. Like, that to me is quality. Now, obviously, they can't, because, again, Sheamus is tied up with Ziggler, and I understand that. But you couldn't even get somebody that's, like, on par with that, maybe? It had to be Curtis Axel. But like you said, Ashton, Sandow throws it back in Axel's face, like, the shirt thing, and, everything that Axel says, Sandow repeats back to him in a mocking tone. And the segment ends with Sandow hitting a boot to the face, and, the Kobito Aki at elbow. And Sandow apparently has a new theme, which you dug. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again, because I think I do like it, too, from what I was able to pick up. So that's a good thing. But, man, to have a promo of such promise at the start, and you realize that he may be doing, well, probably not even doing anything with Axel. This is probably a one-off thing, but still. You really could have set up something for him for Payback, and now I'm just like, meh.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, they had something. They had lightning in a bottle with this super awesome, honest, open promo from Sandow. And within the span of this segment, not even within the span of a week or a day, within the span of this little 15-minute not even segment, they had lightning in a bottle, and then they let it go.
Exactly, man. I mean, I really couldn't have said it any better myself. No use belaboring the point on this issue. Let's move on. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo on Ryback. He says, what happened tonight was just the beginning. Run. So, again, we know that we're getting this match between them at Payback. Super excited.
Yeah.
We go from that to, I believe, our quarterfinal match of the night for the King of the Ring, Neville versus Luke Harper. This was my match of the night. Really, really good stuff. Neville's high-flying offense, I think, got nice pops in the crowd every single time. And can I just say, regardless of how the King of the Ring tournament shakes out, whether Neville wins or he loses, I just love how they're booking this guy in general. I feel like WWE has done a really great job handling Neville. He's probably one of the best NXT prospects that they have handled since he's come to the main roster thus far.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I do want to emphasize thus far, because there's always time to screw things up. But I think he's, yeah, see, you know it. See, that's why we work. But yeah, Neville, he did one great spot at one point where he goes off the apron and he connects with a Hurricane Rana to Harper on the floor. Harper's a beast himself. I keep saying this guy is such a ridiculous athlete. He nails a half Nelson suplex at one point that just looked beautiful. So that was really cool. I think he got a power bomb at another point. Neville got his deadlift German on Harper, which the imagery was great because Harper's such a big dude.
Yeah.
Then the match ended. I liked the finish because he got a sunset flip power bomb, and Harper, was kind of set up for the Red Arrow, and he actually hit it, and he got the 3 count. And you know what? We don't really say it often, so I feel like we kind of really should. We have an obligation to point out when they do good, at least in our eyes. I loved how commentary put over Neville post-match because they said, oh, this kid's something special. Keep an eye on him. Booker T even said, like, he picked Neville to win the whole tournament. So I'm loving it, man. I got to say, the booking of Neville so far, when you look at the grand scheme of things, not just wins and losses or this, that, or the other, I think it's been really solid. So it makes me really happy to see this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, he's easily, since Bray Wyatt, the best booked NXT call-up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, on all counts.
Because they're taking him seriously. He's winning matches. He's not winning every match, which is the best thing. Like, that's huge to me, is that he doesn't have this vaunted undefeated streak. He doesn't, and that's great. He lost, what was it, his second match that just so happened to be against the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Like, I'm okay with that, you know?
Well, I mean, Ashton, and I don't want to go into rant territory here or seem like I'm thumbing my nose at anybody, but what I wish more people would understand is that you look just as good when you take people to the limit as you do beating them, just straight up.
Well, depending on who it is, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he held his own with Rollins that week. And he took him to the limit. Same way with Ziggler. I believe it was the week after it was Dolph Ziggler. So, Neville, he's looking strong against certain guys that they're saying, you know what, if maybe he would have done this differently, and certainly one day he'll be able to get the W over those guys. And then other guys who are kind of like middle of the road, like Barrett, who's won the Intercontinental title 5 times, and you have Neville pin a guy like that. It's like, oh, man, what a win, and they make a big deal out of it. I'm just loving how they're handling him. I'm hoping he doesn't get mishandled, especially in these crucial summer months, because I don't know what they're going to do with him. Is he going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match? Is he going to be in the IC title picture? These next few months, I think, are going to be critical for Neville, but I'm going in with confidence, and that's just a wonderful thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's so refreshing. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said, my friend. After that, we get our main event. Roman Reigns and Randy Orton versus Kane and Seth Rollins. Not really much to say here. It's pretty much what you'd expect. Kane and Seth Rollins start as a cohesive unit, but then, of course, comes that point in the matchup where there's a complete breakdown, and that's what leads to the babyfaces getting the victory. It starts when Kane has Roman Reigns startled by the throat. Roman's overpowering Kane, though, and Rollins is going to try, I guess, and help Kane, but he accidentally drop kicks him. Then another point that kind of brings Kane's frustration to a boil is Roman Reigns hits the Superman punch on Joey Mercury. Joey ends up falling into Kane. And then the final point where Kane's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm done. Is Seth Rollins goes for a suicide dive attempt. Orton and Reigns move out of the way. And Rollins connects with Kane. Kane just at that point is like, I'm done. He takes out J&J Security. He throws them over the announce table. He uppercuts Seth. Puts him back in the ring. Seth eats a Superman punch and then an RKO. Randy Orton gets the winning pin on Seth Rollins. Randy Orton has pinned the champion, and Kane's just stewing because he realizes, oh man, screwed up again. We still haven't resolved our issues. The Authority is showing cracks. After that, Kane says, well, I guess it's time to find out who you're facing, Seth. And by an overwhelming majority, the triple threat matchup does win. So at Payback, it is going to be Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. And I will say, as a quick aside, it's actually quite nice to know that we have 2 confirmed matches already for Payback, when normally for other pay-per-views when we get this Raw, we'd still have 0 set up. So, good job there, WWE. And then after that, Rollins just can't believe it. He's like, oh man, I have all the rotten luck. And it just gets worse because he turns around and he eats a spear from Roman Reigns. And that's how we close. Roman Reigns stands tall, and Randy Orton is just very proud of himself for pinning the champion. So Again.
Yeah, because he totally did the same thing at WrestleMania.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. So, anything you want to say about this main event before we get into our next segment?
No, this was a really uneventful, or what felt like uneventful. There were a few sort of segments that were pretty good, but it felt like an uneventful Raw.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So
honestly, I think it's just because like the King of the Ring tournament was so prominent, and none of those matches were particularly, mentionable.
Right.
Or noteworthy, I guess the word would be.
Right. But, with that said, I guess let's keep the ball rolling. High spots and low shots. Low shot is very straightforward. Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
Not even his fault that he lost, but he did lose. And, he took the fight to Sheamus, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, right after beating Luke Harper and then Chicago Street Fight 2, are they ever going to connect the dots with Ambrose is my question. But I'm sorry. I love him to death, but it was a rough night. He's got to be my low shot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I'm your low shot because of that.
All right, man. Who's your low shot?
My low shot is easy. Luke Harper. I came up with this earlier when I went through the entire chain of people that have beaten each other, ending in Luke Harper, who hasn't beaten anyone in the last 2 days.
That's true. That's very true.
He is the bottom of the bitch barrel.
Yeah, man, that's so sad.
It is.
My high spot, I'm gonna keep it simple again. Randy Orton gets the winning pin in a tag match, and he pins, Seth Rollins. So pinning the champion, that's got to be psychological advantage. Not to mention that he's got himself a rematch at Payback. He probably doesn't like that Roman Reigns is also a part of that, but I think he'll take any opportunity he could be given to just get back in the ring with Seth Rollins and just dish out more punishment. So Randy Orton is my high spot.
Yeah, I definitely can't necessarily disagree with that. My high spot's going to be Neville, because I think that of the 8 people that were in the King of the Ring tournament, he was the one person that I think that you least expected to win their match tonight. Like, that's the thing. And I'm not necessarily saying it's the person that you least expected to win the tournament. I'm saying he's the person that you least expected to win their individual match tonight that actually won. Because, like, you got Sheamus, obviously, it's Sheamus, right?
Right.
And the really sad thing is he ended up winning by DQ. But then you've got Cody Rhodes or Stardust and R-Truth, and that's kind of a wash. You don't really care who wins that. It doesn't really matter who wins that. Whoever it is, they're going to end up losing to Bad News Barrett in the next round. And yeah, I mean, Bad News Barrett, I don't really care who he's facing. He's probably going to be the favorite to win. So as it turns out, Neville was facing Harper, and Harper has been really, I mean, obviously he's not on a roll, but he's been really, really good for the last month and maybe even 2 months with just the sheer dominance that he's been showing. And then, like, nobody would have called, oh, Neville is easily going to beat Luke Harper. Like, I was shocked when he hit the red arrow. So yeah, Neville's going to be my high spot.
Yeah, I think also of all the King of the Ring tournament participants, he was the most impressionable. I think just given his offense and everything else. Like, I think people are really going to get excited about Neville. Not to mention, I think he has the far more intriguing semifinals matchup. He's facing Sheamus tomorrow night. So that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with your high spot, and I love it. So coming up next, our next segment, Raw Request. And I'm going to say my Raw request is just, keep doing what you're doing with Kane. I don't want to see this become like, oh, I'm going to get in the ring with Seth, but this time for real, no laying down or anything like that. Keep having him use his influence to kind of stick it to Seth in a variety of ways, try and mess with him and mess with his championship reign from the outside. Anytime that Kane gets, overtly, like, physically involved, it's going to be a turnoff for me for the programming. But the way you're doing it now, it's passable, and I can accept it. Obviously, I'm going to have my gripes about Kane still being a centerpiece, in any kind of feud in 2015. But if this is the way you've got to do it, definitely preferable. Just make sure Kane doesn't get too physically involved in the coming weeks. Because, I mean, he's really had these teases, and I'm just afraid that Seth is just going to call him out one week on Raw, and we're going to do this whole thing, and I just wouldn't care. So let's try and avoid that if possible.
Yeah. I think my Raw request is going to be, if you're going to give Naomi a new identity, make it a unique one, not taking things from other people in your company.
Yeah, I know you kind of made a point about this, when we were watching Raw together, and then the whole segment of her beating up Brie, well, not beating her up, but just shoving her down, kind of transpired. I agree. Naomi is so talented. You can do better for her than this. I mean, I do like the theme music. I like, again, the dancing and everything else. But just, no glasses, none of this. Just give her something else, let her just really be herself.
Yeah, well,
just,
and that's another thing, is that, like, now all of a sudden that she's a heel, now she's talking like, basically like a hood rat. Like, she's got, like, the ghetto accent going on that we all know she doesn't actually speak with because she's been on Total Divas before, and she's acting incredibly, like, I don't even know what word to use. I'm just going to say fake.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, I get that she can be a heel. And the worst thing is, like, how can you even say she's a heel?
I know. Yeah, I mean, that's what I said at Extreme Rules Live Reactions for her matchup against Nikki. She has legitimate gripes all the way. And
she has legitimate gripes, and she lost because of the opponent cheating. How is that a heel?
Exactly. And how does that make the Bellas babyface more so?
Yeah,
they're back to being babyfaces.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I went on a rant about it during Live Reactions, and you guys should, can all go back and listen to that, because I it's me being a big Naomi fan for one, and two, I just really hate when the Bellas are baby faces because this is the kind of shit you get. And even like Brie tonight when she ate the floor, being shoved. I didn't feel bad because she got involved in the women's match last night. Of course she's going to have a gripe, and she's not going to care about your emotional problems in that moment. She's just going to care about getting revenge, as she should. So, yeah, the whole thing's just kind of backwards to me, but I will co-sign on your Raw request, which leaves only one segment left, 30-second hot seat. So what do you got for me this week, Ashton?
Well, here's what I'm thinking, John.
Okay.
Raw tonight was relatively boring, but I have an incredibly topical heat of the night, 30-second hot seat for you.
Okay.
Who are going to be the two finalists for the King of the Ring tomorrow night? Who is going to win the King of the Ring tournament tomorrow night? And most importantly, what the hell does it matter who wins the King of the Ring tournament tomorrow night? How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, you have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
King of the Ring finals are going to be Bad News Barrett versus Neville in an Extreme Rules kickoff rematch. Bad News Barrett is going to come out victorious this time, however, so it's going to be King Barrett. And what does it matter? Well, it depends on how WWE makes it matter. We could see a big Money in the Bank push for Barrett, or he could completely fizzle out after finishing up his feud with Daniel Bryan in the Intercontinental Championship. I'm not optimistic. I'm wholly expecting the latter.
Okay, you did that in about 23 seconds, so good job.
Excellent.
Yeah, very excellent. Your face is excellent.
Well, the feeling's entirely mutual there. We're TWitWoW. We're amazing. But more importantly, do you have any remarks you want to make before I take us home?
Remarks, John? Really?
Yeah, I mean, Raw, King of the Ring.
It was a thing.
Okay, fair enough.
Actually, yeah, I do. I don't have a remark. I have a question.
Okay.
To our audience, actually. Would you guys like us to put out a King of the Ring episode of TWitWoW special tomorrow night covering the final 3 matches in the tournament? Because if you do, and if we get even a little bit of positive feedback of people saying, oh yeah, sure, we'd watch that, we're probably going to do it.
Yeah, this channel is totally a democracy, guys. If you voice it, we'll deliver.
No, it's a dictatorship, but I'm willing to listen to other people.
Hooray! Oh, God, that reaction. All right. Well, oh, my God. This has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW. The best!
It's a dictatorship, but I'm a smart enough dictator to know that I need a brain trust, and that's you guys.
My outro, dude. All right. The best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my dictator and commentary, Ashton.
And guess what? This was not even an hour long, so I get to put this whole episode up at once.
Yeah, suck it, time limits. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. What did you think of Raw tonight? But I'll get to the meat and potatoes. What did you think of the King of the Ring? Of course, also be sure to express if you want us to do that commentary. But what do you think the finals are going to look like? Who do you think will emerge as the winner? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pweetov, an amazing pro wrestling group, some of the best pro wrestling fans you will ever meet. You can also take the conversation, if you'd like, to the TWitWoW subreddit, where you can talk to me and Ashton personally about all things pro wrestling. And we will see you again, if not for our King of the Ring commentary tomorrow night, for the Wednesday Night War commentaries, beginning with Lucha Underground, as we'll see how Dario Cueto is going to have to deal with having Team Strange Bedfellows as his trio's tag team champions. What will Cueto have in store for them? I shudder to think. Until then, guys, tune in and peace out.